Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. And my name is Dan, and yeah, we've had some news today that the Premier League has, of course, been cancelled, postponed. Something's going on with it. Something's going on with my hair as well. But you know, I wasn't planning on really streaming today, so one of those things. Yeah, something's happened today. Where the Premier League has obviously been postponed. This is going to have obviously ramifications on Fantasy Premier League, FPL. So today I thought we'd do a stream. We would try and just talk about what's gone on, try and explain the situation that's happened and what we can really do from here. Where we go next from here. So hello guys who are watching this live on stream. I'm going to try and answer as many of your questions as I possibly can, because I appreciate this is a confusing time, and I do want to try and keep this very Premier League and FPL focused. I appreciate a lot of you guys are very upset for various reasons, no matter what side you are on any issue. This is not meant to be political or anything like that. But listen, let's talk about FPL, because that's why we've all gathered here, right? That's why we're all gathered here. So, yeah, try and keep it sensible in the chat if possible, guys. Try and keep it sensible in the comments as well. And let's just try and be rational about everything right now, I would say. So, okay, first of all, yeah, the Premier League has been called off this week out of respect for the passing of the Queen, which happened yesterday, and now we can go and have a look at the Premier League, a statement on Twitter. So this is actually from the Premier League. So as a mark of respect to Her Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth II, this weekend's Premier League match round will be postponed. Now, it's an interesting one. If I'm completely honest, I know a few of you guys are going to be upset about the fact that, it's been postponed because, obviously maybe the Queen or the monarchy is not something that means very much to you, and I completely understand that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend this has impacted me personally. This is not like a huge deal in my personal life, but for some people it is, other people's it isn't. I think really the reason the Premier League has been postponed is because of safety concerns, and that would probably be my best estimate. Is that, obviously with everything that's going on, a lot of people are going to be congregating in London and various other places. Police and army forces are going to be needed to kind of supervise all of the things that are going around regarding, people trying to pay their respects, funerals, etc., etc. And that's going to kind of leave football stadiums a little bit light on security. It's going to impact travel. It's going to impact a lot of stuff. So for the safety of the fans in this country, you can kind of understand why this weekend's games have been called off. Now, yeah, I guess the Premier League haven't actually said that, and they maybe twisted it into a PR thing, really, but I'm sure the decision was probably very much motivated by the fact that, safety concerns, and that has to come first. That absolutely has to come first. So, there we go. Yeah, it is what it is. It's done. Look, nothing we can do about it. The Premier League has been cancelled. I'm sure we can all manage without one weekend's worth of football. Let's find something else to do. Let's touch some grass. There's loads of other things going on in life that hopefully we can stay positive about. So, yeah. So the ramifications on FPL are where things get kind of interesting, and basically, what we're seeing is that Gameweek 7 is basically a null game week. I don't really know how to describe it, other than it's just as if no one scores any points in Gameweek 7. So essentially, in Gameweek 7, assume everyone in the world scores 0 points, pretty much. That's the way they've done it. That's the way they've worked it. Everyone in the world scores 0 points. So the game week still goes ahead technically, but every single player blank. So it's similar to a blank game week, like a regular blank game week, where a few players don't have fixtures, except all players don't have fixtures. I know that's a little bit strange, but that's kind of the way the game is coded. They sometimes have to take some certain liberties and do things in a certain way to try and sort these kind of things out and try and make the best of a situation. So Game week 7, everyone is scoring 0 points unless you took minus points, which is where things get a little bit tricky. Unless you took a minus point hit this week, in which case you will, you will go into this game week with a -4 or a -8 or a -12 or whatever. So any transfers you've made still count. They still roll in. It's literally game week 7 is completely normal, except none of your players can score points. You still get the same amount of minuses. All of your transfers that you made count. There we go. The exceptions to this are if you used a chip. So if you used a chip, and I'm gonna refer back to this little stream of tweets from the official FPL earlier today. So obviously, Game Week 7 will roll over, no points will be scored, no one can score any points, no players have fixtures. This is where things will be hopefully a little bit positive for some of you guys. So triple captains, bench boost, and free hit chips activated for Game Week 7 will be reinstated. Wildcard roll into the next game week. So let's focus on this first part first. So if you played one of these chips already for Game Week 7, a triple captain, a bench boost, or a free hit, they will be reinstated after the Game Week 7 deadline. So it will seem like you've used them. So you say you've played a triple captain this week. Yes, your triple captain will still technically play, but you will get it refunded in Game Week 8. So that's the way that's going to work. Same with bench boost, same with free hit. Whatever you've done, you'll just be reinstated. You'll just get your chip back next game week. So I'm sure there's not too many of you guys who did that, but just in case. Wildcards, on the other hand, a few of you guys will have used your wildcard. Now, basically, this is kind of an interesting one. So wildcards will roll into the next game week. So basically, you get 2 game weeks worth of wildcarding, if that makes any sense. So say you played your wildcard already, or you're going to play your wildcard now. All of your wildcard transfers, everything you've done so far on the wildcard will still be there. That's still solidified. Whatever you've done is concrete. But your wildcard essentially continues. So it's kind of like you get a wildcard that lasts for 2 weeks. You can continue making unlimited transfers until the Game Week 8 deadline. Now, there is, I've obviously already spoken about the minus points. So for managers who took points hit for additional transfers, their scores will reflect the points they lost. So if you took a -4, you still have a -4. If you took a -8, you still have a -8. Going in Game Week 7, you'll still have a -7, a -4, -8, -12, whatever minus, you'll still have that score. And yeah, the final point here, I guess. I don't know, maybe a few of you guys play head-to-head stuff. Like same situation. If you took a minus, then you'll be on minus points. If not, you'll be on 0 points for this game week. You'll get a draw. But yeah, postponed fixtures, they're going to be allocated to another date. So we're going to see these postponed fixtures go into a future game week. That's going to create a double game week at some point between now and the end of the season. That's not going to be this year. Very unlikely to be this year. There's just not enough time for it. So going into the 2023 calendar year, we're going to have we're going to have at least one massive double game week. So many fixtures need to be rescheduled. They're all going to be put into one massive double game week, which we may as well speak about this now. It means that in the future, we are going to have a massive opportunity to use a chip in this giant double game week that will happen at some point in the year 2023, in the second half of this season. That'll be the perfect time to play a triple captain. More likely a bench boost, to be honest. Maybe even a free hit. So bench boost is probably going to be a big one to play. There's likely that there's going to be a week between now and the end of the season where every single team, very possible that every single team will have a double game week all in one game week. So that's pretty big. That's pretty big. So, yeah, save those chips. As always, I mean, we say this anyway, but save your chips for the second half of the season. We've got a mega double game week coming up, as Troma Kid in the chat has just said. Mega double game week. Yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up. So, there's one more thing that I want to point out from these tweets that I think is kind of interesting, and you guys will have to let me know what you think about this, because I'm not 100% sure on this one, but let me tell you how I've interpreted this. So, obviously, we do know that when you take a minus points, -4, -8, if you were to play a free hit in that same game week, it would cancel out all of your minuses. The same with wildcard, to be fair. So if you've taken minuses and you play your wildcard or your free hit, then that wipes out all of the minuses that you took. Now, what's interesting here is that it says here pretty clearly, I would say, triple captain, bench boost, and free hit chips activated for game week 7. So for this game week will be reinstated, which to me means, now obviously we won't know until after the game week 7 deadline is passed, but for me means that you can cancel all of your minus points by playing your free hit chip now, and you'll get that free hit chip reinstated in game week 8. So all your minuses will be cleared, and you will still keep your free hit if you play a free hit before the game week 7 deadline, which is tomorrow morning. Now, I don't know for sure if that's going to work. We won't know. No one's going to know. And FPL, I don't think will tell you either, because in a way, it kind of is cheating the system But from a technical standpoint, when we look at the way the game is coded, you would imagine it would be quite difficult for them to police that, and they're probably not interested in policing that. It's within the rules of the game. If they're saying you get your free hit back next game week, then it's done. People say in the chat, yes, but you'll have your old team back. Yes, that's absolutely right. But it's kind of up to you. Do you want to have this team that you've taken the minuses for, or are you now regressing the minuses you've taken, and you just want to play a free hit and get your transfer? You get your old players back, because a lot of people, for example, may have transferred in players specifically for this game week. Maybe taken a minus to transfer players in specifically for this game week, or maybe for next game week. If so, then you can cancel out those hits that you took and you can go back to your old team, which maybe some of you guys would want to do. Maybe some of you guys are thinking, but looking at the chat, some of you guys are kind of thinking, I actually like the minuses I've taken. I'd like to keep these players. But yeah, it's very important to note that if you do try this tactic, one, there's no guarantee it will work. I think it will, but I can't make that guarantee. And two, if you cancel out your minuses, you're just cancelling out all your transfers. So if you're regressing transfers you've made this game week, you could try playing the free hit now. Make sure you do it before the Game Week 7 deadline, and it should revert your team back to what it was before you made transfers for Game Week 7. So your Game Week 6 team. You'll get your Game Week 6 team back in Game Week 8, and they should refund your free hit. Just an idea, guys. Just wanted to put that one out there. It's an interesting one. A few people still asking about head-to-head stuff. Yeah, head-to-head stuff is exactly the same. So if you took minus points, you have a minus score for this this game week. If you didn't take a minus, then you'll score 0 points, no matter what. So yeah. Okay, similar situation with a wild card, by the way. If you've taken minuses this game week, maybe you've taken minus points for a 1-week punt, and you kind of you just want to have a wild card. You were planning on wild card in game week 8 anyway. Maybe you're planning on using that wild card in game week 9, maybe. Then you could play it now. Now there is argument because we're seeing a situation where we've got no game week 7. Obviously, a lot of people are planning game week 8 wild card anyway. There is argument to just play the wild card now, because wild cards roll into the next game week anyway. So if I was to slap the wild card on right now, how can I do that? Play wildcard, obviously I can't do it because I haven't made the transfers, but I could play the wildcard now and I could start making transfers ready for game week 9. Game week 8. Let's say game week 8. I could start making even though it's not even game week 7 yet, technically, I could start making those transfers now. The advantage of that is that you could maybe catch some price changes. Let's just go on price changes. So, for example, you really want to get Trippier. You're scared he's going to go up in price tonight. Maybe play the wild card now rather than tomorrow. Your wild card will keep rolling on, so you keep getting to use it. There's maybe some argument to play your wild card now. So yeah, there's that. The other thing. So I actually think that there is a very good chance that game week 8 also gets postponed. I really do. Because I think the main thing is that the funeral is set to be next weekend, next Monday potentially. And there's going to be a lot of preparations needed to do that. And so in particular, especially if it's safety concerns, it's about policing concerns and stuff like that, because that is a big part of football. Then they may need to reallocate police, army, whatever resources to London football games. Well, what would have been at London football games to the proceedings of, the funeral for the Queen or whatever. And therefore, games like Chelsea versus Liverpool, which is played in London, Brentford versus Arsenal played in London, Spurs versus Leicester played in London. It's just those 3 games, isn't it? So those 3 games, Spurs, Leicester, Brentford, Arsenal, and Chelsea, Liverpool, the 3 games played in London next game week, could get postponed amidst safety concerns as well. So it is possible that some or all of these games get postponed. I would not be surprised. I really would not be surprised. Which means that the next game week will be played at the 1st of October. So a long time. We'll have basically a month until Premier League football returns, because we have that international break in between. Wouldn't be surprised if some of those international games get postponed as well. The England ones anyway. Maybe the Scotland, Wales, etc. Northern Ireland. So yeah, I would definitely take that into consideration. Now the question is, if I was to play a wildcard now, this is just as an example. If I was to play a wildcard now, would and game week 8 was called off as well, would the wildcard, the same way as they've said, wildcards will roll into next game week, will they continue to roll into the next game week? Will they now roll it into game week 9? I think that's possible. I think that's very possible that could happen. So I think that's a kind of a big risk. It is kind of a risk, and it's a lot of uncertainty at the moment regarding FPL because they are limited to the games. We are uncertain. We're not going to get an announcement on game week 8 before the game week 7 deadline. That decision is probably going to be made over the weekend, maybe even early next week. So it might be that it's worth actually waiting before doing anything. If you've got 2 free transfers right now to use one of them. Use them or lose them. You can only carry 1 transfer into the next game week anyway. So if you have you have 2 free transfers, use one. If you're thinking of wildcarding, I would wait. There is a situation where you could potentially get 4 free transfers before the next Premier League game is played. So, for example, if you have 2 free transfers now, use one now, use one next game week, and if the Premier League doesn't restart until game week 9, you'll still have 2 transfers at that point to use at that point. So, if you haven't got any transfers, there's some argument to say just kind of treat it as if you're just making normal transfers. Is 4 transfers as good as playing a wild card? I don't know. I mean, if you still have your wild card, I'd still probably be aiming to use it in game week 8 or 9. But if you're already set up for game week 8 or 9, then maybe you don't need to. So many variables here, guys. So yeah, that's basic. I think I've pretty much covered the main implications on FPL. So I'll ask you guys now to, if you've got any questions or anything that you think I can potentially answer, I will do my best. So in the chat, guys, do leave some messages, and I'll try and answer as many of you as I can. If you're in the comment section, I will be checking back over the comments on this stream. So if you're not watching this live, I will try and reply to as many of your questions as possible in the comment section as well. And I'll try and we'll try and figure this out together. So El Natan has got a question here. Says I've taken a hit and planning on wildcarding next week. Anyway, should I wildcard now? And my answer to me, for me would be yes. Wildcard now. It will wipe out the fact that you've taken minus points, and your wildcard will carry over into the next game week. So I think that works. A few people asking for a wildcard draft. I did actually have a wildcard draft video planned for today, but I think it's a little bit early to do one. I might still do one. I might wait until over the weekend so we get a bit clearer picture of what's going to happen next before releasing it. The last thing I want to do is waste your guys' time by creating content that isn't relevant or interesting, or doesn't really matter. So yeah, I'm not going to do a wildcard draft today. Maybe we'll probably do one on Monday, if that's okay with you guys. I don't think we'll have much need for a strategy stream next week anyway. Maybe I'll do one on Sunday as well. We'll see. That guy says, how will this affect the Champions League? It shouldn't affect the Champions League at all. The Premier League is obviously an English competition. Therefore, decisions will be made based on English problems, English culture, English, things to do with England. And, obviously the Queen and the safety concerns, that is all very much English problems. This should not affect European football. It would be unreasonable for us as English or British people to impose our tradition on the rest of Europe. So Champions League it will go ahead as normal. So nothing to worry about. If you're a Champions League fan, that's going to go ahead as normal for you guys. Danim says, if you have 2 free transfers, should you use 1 transfer before the game week 7 deadline to avoid burning one next game week? And the answer for you, Danim, is absolutely yes. Yes, I would definitely be doing that. You use it or lose it. The game weeks are technically going ahead as usual. It's just the players can't score points, so you have to just play the transfer element of the game normally, but just appreciate that there's no fixtures for any of your players this game week, basically. Lee says Haaland gets a free rest between 2 Champions League games. Yeah, that's true. So a nice rest for Haaland, I suppose. I mean, everyone said that Haaland, Haaland wasn't going to get any rests. He was just going to play every game week. Well, I guess we finally found a game week where Haaland isn't playing, I suppose. Thomas says, are you going to keep your transfers? I don't really have a choice. Yeah, I mean, I was planning a wildcard in game week 8 anyway. So I was always going to wildcard in game week 8. So for me, the plan doesn't change there. I'm not going to change my plan based on that one. So it feels like I've wasted a transfer essentially because I'd saved 2 transfers. But at the same time, no, I was gonna wildcard anyway. So look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Someone random says, what am I going to do during the weekend now? Someone random is of course, my sugar daddy, who has given me an £18 super chat. I really do appreciate that. Someone random. That is very, very kind of you. I don't know what you're going to do during your weekend, to be honest. I mean, go spend time with your friends, family, go to the pub. There's most of the other sports seem to be going ahead. If you're a rugby fan, if you're a cricket fan, or if you're a fan of football in other leagues as well. Other leagues are going ahead. There's still going to be plenty of football to watch, just not Premier League football. So it might be an opportunity to kind of check out some of the other leagues over the weekend. I'm probably going to be doing that. It could be nice. Play some video games. Loads of things you can do. Kevin says, if you have 0 free transfers, just wait until tomorrow. So yeah, if you have 0 free transfers, if you've used your transfers already, there's nothing you can do. Don't do anything. Do absolutely nothing. Erman says, watch F1. That's a good idea. Jiten says, you watch UFC. Yeah, we've got UFC this weekend. There's different things we can do. Boss Boy Drizzle says, do I make transfers? If you have 2 free transfers, I would make 1 free transfer now. If you only have 1 free transfer to use anyway, I would just roll it into next game week. Just leave it. Noel with a £5 super chat. Thank you very much, Noel. Planned 2 free transfers in game week 8, taking Salah, Robertson, then wildcard for game week 9. Is this still a good plan, or should I reconsider? I can see you took Salah out early. Yes, I did take Salah out. Yeah, I mean, look, it does seem like, if game week 8 goes ahead as usual, then you can probably stick with that same plan of taking out Salah and Robertson. Let's see. I would personally try and stick as close to your original plan as possible, but just get rid of this game week. Ignore this game week. Pretend this game week isn't happening. Plan for game week 9. Plan for game week 8 as usual until we hear otherwise. Don't make any rash decisions. Don't take any minuses. Don't try and save your transfers for as late as possible until we get a little bit of more information, other than if you're wildcarding. If you're planning a wildcard in game week 8 or game week 9 anyway, if you're planning one for game week 8, you may as well activate it now. If you're planning one for game week 9, I would wait. And see what the situation is. We could have game week 8 postponed. We could have it going ahead. We could even have a situation where and then the messiest possible situation is if we do, like I said earlier, the games based in London are postponed and the other games go ahead. That could be very messy in FPL terms, and it could potentially warrant an early wildcard, a game week 8 wildcard, because if you look at the game week 8 fixtures, I mean, you guys are going to have Brentford and Arsenal players, I imagine. Maybe not Brentford so much, but you guys are going to have Arsenal players, aren't you? You guys are probably going to have Chelsea and Liverpool players in your team as well. And the other one is Spurs versus Leicester. So maybe some of you guys have got some Spurs places in as well. So it might actually be really difficult if the London games are postponed in game week 8. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I want us to acknowledge this as a possibility and prepare for this eventuality. That's going to cause some problems. So maybe that means, there's argument to say free hit in game week 8. If that's the case, there's argument to say wildcard in game week 8. Limit the amount of, you can limit the amount of Liverpool players you have. You can maybe have just 1 Liverpool player. You can maybe have just 1 Arsenal player and maybe 1 Spurs player, and then put those 3 players on your bench. And then maybe depend on Patterson or Emerson. Andreas is playing away at Nottingham Forest. It's not a bad fixture for him really, so you could use him as your bench option. I think there is scope to work around it, but you may need a wild card to try and navigate that one. So there we go. Someone random with another massive super chat, because apparently this guy's pockets are endless. Thank you so much, dude. I do appreciate it, man. I'll watch the F1 Fair enough. Watch the F1. Good idea. By the way, what do you think of Brighton assets with Potter gone? I don't think they're going to be the same. I do kind of agree with you. Like, my thought process before was, you know, Brighton against Bournemouth, you know, even with a new manager or a lack of manager, it's still a game against Bournemouth, so they're still very much worth holding on to. But Brighton's fixtures do take a little bit of a dip. I'll show you now. So assuming, well, we know Game Week 7 is not going ahead. Game Week 8, ironically, could be back on. And I haven't actually mentioned this. Maybe something I should have mentioned earlier. So, Game Week 8, which was a game between Brighton and Crystal Palace, that was originally postponed because of safety concerns, because there was going to be some strikes, basically. I won't go into the details. Like I say, I don't want to make this a political stream. But there were some strikes, safety concerns about the match. The match was postponed, abandoned, not going to play anymore. But those strikes have now been, you know, out of respect for the Queen, those strikes in question have been postponed themselves. So that means that this game should now be safe to go ahead again. The Brighton versus Crystal Palace game should be safe to go ahead again. So an interesting point, I think. We have technically got, we should, in theory, have that Brighton versus Crystal Palace game back in business, assuming, you know, Game Week 8 goes ahead as usual, which, again, I can't guarantee that will happen. So, yeah. After that, it does get trickier. Liverpool away, Tottenham at home, even Brentford away is not exactly an easy fixture. Forest is good, but then Man City away, Chelsea at home. There's argument to say that, particularly under a new regime, you wouldn't want to own too many Brighton players over this fixture period anyway. So that's probably would be my advice. I would say that I think the change of management probably gives us an opportunity to sit back, take some Brighton players out anyway, particularly if you're your wild card in Game Week 8, Game Week 9. Take those Brighton players out, or at least most of them out. I would probably have one absolute maximum. I would probably go for 0 if I'm honest. And, you know, see how Brighton do even in this difficult fixtures. If you've got Pascal Gross at a cheap price, for example, there might be argument to keep him. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be the same or not. I can't imagine they'll be quite as good. Graham Potter, phenomenal manager. Really, really. Chelsea have done very well to get him, in my opinion. So, life after Potter might not be amazing. Fixtures, definitely not amazing. And maybe we can, you know, take a pass on those Brighton assets just for a little while. Just for a little while. So, there you go. A lot of people are saying they want a wild card. They want a wild card video today. All right, yeah, okay. I've got like 2 hours before I've got to go out this evening. So okay, I'll do a wildcard video and I'll try and upload it tonight. Yeah, if not enough of you guys ask me to do something, then I'll do it. Yeah, wildcard draft coming out tonight. There we go. Boom, said it. Right. Any more questions before we hop off? I don't want this stream to last forever. I just wanted to cover the basics really and try and answer a few questions. Troma says, even bin off Sanchez. Yeah, I would bin off Sanchez. If I'm on a wild card, I'm taking Sanchez out of goal and putting in Nick Pope, probably. Peter says, hi, mate. I've done a free hit this week, so what happens now? That free hit is going to be reinstated next game week. Your team will return to your Game Week 6 team. In Game Week 8, your team will turn back into your Game Week 6 team and you will have your free hit back. Thomas says, what do I do if I've already activated the wildcard? Nothing. There's nothing you can do now, but your wildcard will continue to roll in to Game Week 8. So your wildcard will still be active. You'll still be able to make unlimited transfers, even in the run up to Game Week 8 as well. So your wildcard just continues. It just carries on. Luke says, who would you buy with a spare free transfer? I guess you'd have to look at Game Week 8 or Game Week 9. I mean, there's argument to use that free transfer to take out a Liverpool player because they play Chelsea in Game Week 8, have some difficult fixtures after that. Brighton at home, I don't know what that's going to be like, but Arsenal away after that. So maybe use that as an opportunity to take out a Liverpool player, potentially. Jeremy Baker with a super chat says, my fantasy USA football team is already a mess and only one game has been played. Send help. Have a nice weekend, everyone. Cheers, Jeremy. I've never actually played MLS Fantasy before. Is that wait? Is this can't be MLS Fantasy? Are you talking about fantasy football as in American football? I'm not sure. But yeah, I don't play that either. I know a few of you guys probably do play that. Is that started yet? Don't know. Ivan says, what to do with 2 free transfers? Use one of them now and roll the next one into next game week and think towards the future. Use one of your free transfers. If you've got two, use one of them, probably to take out a Liverpool player. Antita says, will we get weekly prizes for coming first in Game Week 7? That's a great question. That's a really great question, Antita. I don't think so. I don't think so. Mike H says, is it safe to have Trippier and Pope? Yeah, I don't think there's too much of a problem with that. Dino says, what is your plan? My plan is still to wildcard in Game Week 8. I'm not going to let it change my... I'm going to let it change my my decisions too much. Jeremy says, yes, USA Football, my fantasy MLS team scored 203 points last game week. Is that a lot? That must be a lot. That must be a lot. F. Grizzard says, what happens if you took points hit for this game week? Will the deducted points go away? No, they will not. No, they will not. The only way of removing those minus points are to play a wild card. It's probably your safest bet. You could try the free hit method that I mentioned earlier on in the stream. If you didn't hear me talk about that one, just go back in the stream or rewatch the stream. We talk a little bit about this free hit trick that may or may not work. Could work for you maybe. Grey-Eyed B says, in head-to-head leagues, will each team score 0 and get a draw unless one team has taken a minus? That's exactly correct. So if someone took a minus points, they will have however many minus points they took. If you didn't take any minus points, then you will be on a score of 0. So will everyone else. So there we go. Nick says, good that Salah gets as many points as Haaland this week. I suppose that's a good thing. Mihai says, hi mate, only Game Week 7 is postponed or Game Week 8 as well? So currently it's just Game Week 7, but I think there's a reasonable indication that there could be a postponement of Game Week 8 as well, or at least a partial postponement of Game Week 8. So I would just be aware of that possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'd just be aware. Don't assume Game Week 8 is going to happen, basically. There's kind of a tradition of 10 days of mourning in this country. There's going to be a funeral next, a very, 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 very big and important funeral in London next weekend as well. These really could have an impact on the Premier League. It really could. Connor says, wildcard feels like it was a great decision now. Yeah, definitely. Don't see why not. David says, what's the benefit of making trades in Game Week 7? And is Game Week 8 on, or are games being postponed for that round 2? Like I say, I can't tell you for sure. I think there is a good chance that Game Week 8 games could be postponed as well. But the benefit of making Game Week 7 transfers is basically none. Unless you have 2 transfers already, there's basically no point. There's basically no point in making transfers now. If you don't use your transfers this game week, and you have 2, you can only roll 1 into the next game week. So if you have 2 transfers right now, use 1. If you have 1 transfer to use right now, don't use any, is what I would probably say. Yeah, there we go. I think we'll leave it there. I think we've answered probably most questions. Dino says, will the wildcard transfer to Game Week 9 if Game Week 8 is postponed? Don't know. Don't know. They've set a precedent that maybe that would happen, but I don't want to make that guarantee. That guy says, who's the best must-have player? Haaland still. But there we go. Yeah, I think we've answered most of the questions. We seem to kind of be repeating ourselves a little bit now, which is fine. Richard Lewis says, catching price rises. Yeah, that's the only benefit of making transfers now, even activating your wildcard now. The only benefit is catching price rises. But honestly, I don't think there's going to be too many price rises. The players seem to be moving slow, apart from Trippier, who apparently could go up tonight. The prices do seem to be moving kind of slowly, so yeah, not entirely sure, but yeah, well, let's leave this one. Yeah, if you've got any more questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll try and answer as many comments as possible. Quick shout out to the Twitch channel, maybe. Yeah, I've been working on. I thought, well, since we've got no Premier League, I may as well start work. I've been wanting to make a Twitch channel for a while, so I've made one now. It's the link is twitch.tv/FPL_Mate. I'll slam a link in the chat and maybe in the description, maybe in the comments as well. And yeah, so maybe go check that out. Like the stream if you want to. Subscribe if you want to. I'll do a wildcard video for this evening, and yeah, just try and keep it respectful. No need to make this political. Let's just keep try and talk about football. Like, we all love football. We all love FPL. That's what we're here for at the end of the day. And let's just kind of work out where we're going to go from here. That's basically it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Do appreciate the lot of you. See you on the wildcard video in a little bit. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for joining. See you later, mates. Bye bye.